The world economy is set for the weakest growth since COVID this year, dragged down by Donald Trump's tariffs. Yuka Roya is here to tell us more about that. Yuka, take it away.
Okay, this is according to the OECD, the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, which has released an update on its growth forecast. It expects the global economy to expand by 2.9% this year. That's down from its previous forecast of 3.1% only 3 months ago. The group warns that Donald Trump's erratic trade policies and the uncertainty they create will slow down the economy, hitting the United States especially hard. Luke Traeger has the details.
OECD ministers may have been smiling for the cameras in Paris on Tuesday, but their latest report is anything but cheerful, with the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development cutting its predictions for global growth.
It doesn't matter if you are a G20 economy, a non-G20 economy, if you are big or if you are a small economy, if you are open or relatively more closed, we downgraded almost everybody in terms of our forecasts.
The cause? Washington's trade war and tariffs that have gone into place over the last few months. They're set to slow economic growth to 2.9% both this year and next, down from forecasts of 3.1% and 3% just 3 months ago. With a 10% baseline tariff virtually worldwide and higher so-called reciprocal tariffs currently on hold until next month on all major US trade partners, Donald Trump insists the duties will boost the US economy and push companies to manufacture there. However, the OECD predicts US growth at a meager 1.6% this year and 1.5% in 2026, with higher import prices weakening purchasing power and revenue potentially lost to huge tax cuts currently making their way through Congress. In the meantime, the organization advises nations to get whatever deal they can out of Washington.
The best option is sit down, get an agreement, and it will be better off for everyone. So I think that's the most important message. Avoiding further trade fragmentation is absolutely key in the next few months and years.
That's likely under discussion on the sidelines of the two-day OECD meeting, with US and European Union negotiators meeting for talks and the G7 holding a meeting over trade.
Well, Yuka, among the economies seeing weaker growth is South Korea, which has just elected a new president after 6 months of a power vacuum.
Well, the OECD has slashed South Korea's GDP growth forecast by 0.5 percentage point to just 1%, marking the second largest cut among major economies after the United States. It comes hot on the heels of a revised forecast by the country's own central bank last week, which halved its growth estimate to 0.8% just 3 months after its previous outlook. The International Monetary Fund also halved its projection to 1% back in April. Now, the political crisis sparked by the imposition of martial law in December only added to South Korea's mounting challenges. Weak domestic demand and a slowdown in exports have been affecting its manufacturing sector, resulting in the youth unemployment rate hitting a 4-year high of 7.5% in March. A prolonged downturn in construction is also affecting middle-aged workers. South Korea has the world's lowest fertility rate. Since 2018, it's been the only OECD country with a rate below 1%. It plunged to just 0.72% in 2023, prompting the then President Yoon to call for the creation of a new ministry to address what he called a national emergency. Over the past decade, the government has spent hundreds of billions of dollars to try and reverse the trend, extending paid paternity leave and offering baby vouchers to new parents. Last year, the birth rate increased for the first time in 9 years to 0.75%, though that's still well below the 2.1% needed to maintain a stable population. Meanwhile, South Korea has now become a super-aged society with 1/5 of the population over the age of 65. This translates to more government spending in social welfare. The National Budget Office forecasts that the government debt will increase nearly 6-fold by 2072.
Well, meanwhile, inflation in the euro area fell below 2% for the first time since last September.
Well, prices across the Eurozone rose by 1.9% year-on-year in May, down from 2.2% in April and below the European Central Bank's inflation target of 2%, raising expectations for the ECB to cut interest rates again this week. A significant slowdown in services price growth was a major driver. It may be welcome news for consumers, but the decline in inflation suggests that the ongoing business uncertainty is weighing on companies' pricing power, while risks of inflation spiking again remain due to higher tariffs.
And days after leaving his government role to focus on his business empire, Elon Musk has hampered President Trump's signature spending bill. Tell us about that.
Yeah, he really lashed out at the spending bill. The tech billionaire had previously criticized the tax cut bill, which narrowly passed the House of Representatives last month. But on Tuesday, he didn't mince his words. He called it a disgusting abomination, one that is set to add $3 million to U.S. deficits, 3 trillion rather, deficits over the next decade. Meanwhile, he's taken his focus back to his business empire and said that SpaceX's revenue would rise to about $15.5 billion this year. The firm's grown so big that in southern Texas, its test site, Starbase, has been incorporated as a new city. But local groups are concerned about the safety and environmental risks of Musk's new company town. Caroline Baum has more.
On a once quiet Texas coast, tourists flock to glimpse a powerful rocket test. Launch after launch, space travel fans converge on Starbase, Elon Musk's rocket testing facility become company town.
I think it's pretty cool, making a whole entire city based around a launch site. That is freaking cool.
Starbase City, officially incorporated in May, has around 500 inhabitants, virtually all SpaceX employees and their families. But not all are happy about the new neighbors.
The area where SpaceX is operating is in the middle of 2 federal wildlife refuges. There isn't supposed to be exploding rockets next to pristine wetlands and habitat.
During the first Starship test in 2023, issues with the launch pad and the rocket's explosion sparked a fire and scattered debris and shrapnel for miles around the launch site. Local groups have raised safety concerns and have complained about highway closures that occur during the launches. They also say the rockets cause chemical and noise pollution that could put migratory birds at risk.
Now, this is very much a David versus Goliath situation. We are one of the poorest communities in the country. We're low-income, people of color communities, and we're dealing with the biggest bully on the planet, Elon Musk.
Elon Musk has dismissed concerns about Starship explosions, saying there's no one around the base who could be at risk. Musk has estimated that launches will take place every 3 to 4 weeks through the rest of the summer.
Caroline Baum with that report, and that's it from the business desk.
Yuka, thanks so much for that. Yuka, we're there.